First and foremost, thank you to the organizers for having me for this a very interesting and a very prestigious meeting for Tamil Nadu Endocrinology Society. And I'm going to talk on a topic which is again very interesting and I would say offbeat for an endocrine conference, but very, very essential, I would say, for an endocrine conference. And that is statistics for physicians. And what I've tried to do is, again, the speaker who is going to follow me, Dr. Karthik, he's a true expert in that. So I'm just I would say a student. And perhaps, sometimes it's good to learn from a student because, students learn a little hacks, by which, they make things simpler. So, I'm in the same boat as a lot of physicians. My knowledge of statistics is, minimalistic, but I think I get through, when I have to, publish a paper or analyze my data. And, what I'm going to talk to you is how to, how I made it, thought of these things myself and, try to make it simple for someone like me to even understand. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk very practical things, something you can use in your practice and research and academic exercise from tomorrow itself. So you don't have to really wait up for that. It's something you could be very useful to you in your day-to-day work. So let's begin, and I'll also give you along the way some suggestions for actually doing an actual research. So there are certain topics, which I think can be done as potential research. So those resident doctors and postgraduate trainees who are listening to this, these could be potential research topics or thesis topics which you can perhaps use in your own, academic field. So we'll go in a step-by-step way on how to use your data to publish an article. So broadly speaking, the first step is actually to collect the data, and as you can all imagine, collection of the data is something you need to do to have some basis for your research. You need to understand that you need to collect the data in a usable format, and this is often a rookie mistake made by many. We often collect data in a way, even if you computerize your data, the data is in such a form that it's hardly usable for research. So when you're doing the research again, you need to again reanalyze, enter the data in another format. So it's always better to use it in a format which you can use straight away for research. Again, if you have an electronic medical record, you need to understand two questions. Is your data in a usable format? If it's not in a usable format, do you own the data, right? That's another important question, right? Sometimes EMR companies in their terms and conditions say that the data is owned by the EMR company and not by you. And that you need to be very clear before you sign up with any EMR software, and you need to understand this. You can use online forms. You can create your own. You can use something like a Google Doc or Google Forms, or the one which I use is something known as a Jot form, right? You can use a Jot form. I use it both as a EMR, self-made EMR software, as well as I use it for research. Or of course, you can have a research assistant who can help you with the data collection aspect. So this is an online form. Like I said, this is known as Jot form. I use a paid version because I collect a lot of data. So for me, it's now very, very easy. If I'm doing any kind of study for diabetes, all my data gets entered into this form, and then with click of a few buttons, I get the relevant data which I can use for my research or for my presentation wherever required. Of course, there are data-driven software which are available. This one is known as Mediva, right? This is a company which is designing a EMR software specifically for endocrinologists. In fact, that's one of their priorities, and they're going to do that in a way in which you will be the data analytics become much more easier to do. So once you have collected the data, then of course you need to pool the data, right? So you really need to know disease specific pooling you could do based on your location, based on the the gross project you're working on. Let's say you're working on type 1, you're working on LADA, you're working on type 2, you're working on hypothyroidism, acromegaly, whatever, right? So whatever field that you're working on, you need to pool your data. For example, I get let's say 1,000 patients of hypothyroidism. So that's my pool, and I'm going to work as a research on that field. Then of course you need to have a research question. This is very important. Again, very, very important to define what you are really studying, right? It's extremely essential. Also, it's very ethical. If you start with a research question, it's always better, instead of then doing some analysis and trying to find some relevant data, right? That really is a bad thing to do. An ethical thing is to really start with a research question and then move on. For example, let's say, these are a few examples. Let's say, what percentage of my patients with hypothyroidism are women? It's a simple research question. But of the 1,000 patients I have, how many of them are women? How many of them? What is the mean dose per kg of levothyroxine required to get the TSH in the target range? It's a simple research question, and my data should be able to answer it. But I need to have a well-defined research question before I start. Again, postgraduate students, of course, these seem to be very simple topics, but I think sometimes, research, a simple research, asking a simple question often is more effective than a very complicated research. And, again, postgraduates listening, you can use one of these. These are very easy to do studies, and you can easily use this, for your thesis or for your, research article which you want to publish. Then, of course, comes the core, analytics part. And here is what we're going to discuss about the statistics and how you use the statistics in your analytics. So first you have to understand what exactly is a variable, right? So variables could be two types. One is categorical variable, another is a numerical variable. So again, talking about my research pool of patients with hypothyroidism, the categorical variables would be, what's the gender of the patient, right? Is it male, female? Is the patient NT-TPO? Let's not look at absolute numbers of NT-TPO. Let's say, is the patient NT-TPO positive or NT-TPO negative? Is the patient having goiter or patient is not having goiter? These are all categorical variables. Whereas, of course, then you have numerical variables, like what is the age of the patient, what is the weight of the patient, what's the TSH value, what is the levothyroxine dose, so on and so forth. So these are all numerical variables. So numerical variables are numbers, categorical variables are simple logical categories. Then, of course, you need to also understand the distribution of data, right? This is very important because there are tests which are known as parametric versus non-parametric tests. And if your data is distributed normally, like in this case, you can use a parametric analytics tool. Whereas if it's not uniformly distributed or if it's not normally distributed, you need to use other tools, right? So what is a normal distribution? If I talk about a normal distribution is your typical bell-shaped curve, right? So you have a mean, median, and mode in the middle, and then you have the standard deviations across this, right? So this is a standard normal distribution, right? Now, whenever you have a data which is a large data pool, right? So if you're taking, the more number you take, the more it tends to become normal in distribution, right? But sometimes, of course, you will have distributions which are skewed. For example, let's say distribution is skewed towards one side, right? So if you're talking about, let's say, height of basketball players, they'll always be skewed towards the towards one end because they tend to be taller. Again, if you talk about TSH values in iodine deficient areas, your TSH values will tend to become skewed, right? So this is what you really need to again understand, that the distribution can be sometimes skewed, and when you have a skewed distribution, you cannot use a parametric analytics tool. You need to use a non-parametric tool, right? So that is again something important, right? So you can there are various software which can help you understand whether your data is normally distributed. Simple ways to actually look at your mean and median and mode, and if they are coinciding very closely, then your distribution is more likely to be normal versus other kind of distribution. Then you start with the null hypothesis. So one thing you have to understand in research is that data statisticians, they say, are always skeptics, right? So statisticians always say that perhaps it's not true. We always start with the hypothesis that this whatever I'm doing in terms of analytics, this is not true, and perhaps I need to, using statistics, prove that it is true. So for example, let's say my research question is the dose of levothyroxine required to normalize the TSH in patients with TPO positive higher than those who are TPO negative? Now this is my research question, right? The null hypothesis would be that there is no difference in the dose of levothyroxine required to normalize the TSH value in TPO positive versus TPO negative. So now the onus lies on proving this hypothesis wrong by using statistics. So you have to start with a null hypothesis. You have to start with a hypothesis that there is no difference, right? Whatever you are seeing, it's just by chance, and then you have to prove that this is actually not true. So then also, of course, you need to, and this we all know very well, you need to define an alpha value, that is the p value cutoff, right? So when you're starting a study, you need to define a p value below which you will consider rejecting the null hypothesis and accepting the alternative hypothesis. So meaning that, again, let's say in my previous study, if the difference in the dosage required in NT-TPO positive versus NT-TPO negative is statistically significant, meaning let's say I define a p value of 0.05, and if it's less than 0.05, I would say that I have rejected the null hypothesis and there is perhaps an actual difference between these two variables, right? So this is what you need to really understand. Then of course you need to know which statistical test you'll use and when, right? So this is actually the core of my talk today. You need to understand before you start using a statistical test, like I discussed, you need to understand a couple of things. First of all, is your data normally distributed or not? Second, you need to know what are you exactly comparing. So are you comparing two numerical data? Are you comparing a categorical versus a numerical data, or are you comparing two sets of categorical data, right? How many data sets are you comparing? Is it 2 data sets or is it more than 2? So all these questions you need to be aware before you start. I'll give you examples, don't worry. It may sound a little complex, but it's not that difficult at all. Okay, so first of all, you need to understand whether you are dealing with a normally distributed or a skewed distribution. For normally distributed test, you will use parametric test, and for those something which is skewed distribution, you will use non-parametric test. I'll come to this point again. Just you can, if you are looking at this, you can take a screenshot of this, and we'll come back to this point again in a few minutes. Again, then what type of variable are you comparing? So again, are you comparing a categorical and numerical data? Are you comparing two categorical data? Are you comparing two numerical data sets? So that again, you need to be very clear. Why you need to be clear? Because the type of analytics tool that you're going to use to get your p-value, it would differ on what type of data you're there. So let's start with chi-square test, right? So in chi-square test, basically you are testing two categorical data sets. For example, let's say research question is, are women with hypothyroidism more likely to be NT-TPO positive versus men, right? So categorical data there are two of them here. Categorical data are TPO positive versus TPO negative, and the gender of the patient, that is male or female, right? So these are the two categorical data that you are actually comparing, right? The interpretation would be, you can frame it in a different way. What women with hypothyroidism, how many women with hypothyroidism are NT-TPO positive versus men, and is this difference statistically significant? So this is where you'll use the chi-square test, right? Then you look at t-test, and again t-test is very, very popular. We all use t-test in a lot of our data analytics. So you have two types of t-test. You have paired t-test and you have unpaired t-test. So the paired t-test is used to compare a categorical and numerical variable in the same set of people. It's like a before and after situation, right? So before the intervention and after the intervention. So let's say the blood pressure of a group of people before you give telmisartan and after you give telmisartan, right? That's a paired t-test. Again, it's used for parametric data with normal distribution. So you need to be aware that is your data normally distributed. I'll give you some examples for that. For example, let's say your research question is, does levothyroxine treatment impact the LDL value in patients with hypothyroidism? So basically, what I'll compare is what is the difference between the LDL value before and after 6 months of treatment with levothyroxine. And in more significant, then the next question would be, is this difference statistically significant? So this is how I'd use a paired t-test, right? So, other examples would be, what's the impact of growth velocity using growth hormone in children with short stature? What's the impact on growth velocity? So growth velocity before using growth hormone, growth velocity after using growth hormone, so on and so forth, right? So that's a paired t-test. Unpaired t-test is when again you are comparing categorical and numerical, but it's not in the same set of people, right? So it's not a before and after kind of situation. And this is unpaired t-test is something which we use most popularly in a lot of our studies. So for example, a research question would be, is there a difference in dose of levothyroxine required to achieve target TSH patients in TPO positive versus TPO negative? So the categorical variable here, if you see, the categorical variable is the TPO positive versus negative, right? So this is the categorical variable, but the numerical variable is the dose of levothyroxine required to achieve this same thing, right? So this is where you really look at these things. So for example, again, to make it simple, what is the dose of levothyroxine in microgram per kg dose in people who are TPO positive versus what is the mean dose of levothyroxine in people who are TPO negative, right? So I'll take my data set, I'll take the TPO positive separately, TPO negative, I'll calculate the mean dose in microgram per kg in TPO positive people and TPO negative people, and I'll then compare those two variables using unpaired t-test, and I find whether the difference is statistically significant or not, right? So this is unpaired t-test. Then you have ANOVA. ANOVA is very simple. ANOVA is similar to your unpaired t-test. Only thing is it is for more than 2 data sets, right? So again, to give you an example, I would say, is there a difference in the mean levothyroxine dose in people who are to achieve normal TSH in people who are TPO positive and TG negative, TPO negative and TG positive, right? Both TPO and TG positive or both TPO and TG negative. So I'm looking at 4 data sets. So people who are NT-TPO positive, one set with NT-TG negative, second set would be NT-TG positive with NT-TPO negative, the third set would be both NT-TG and NT-TPO negative, and fourth would be both NT-TPO and NT-TG positive. So is there a difference in these 4 groups, right? And if I'm comparing this, I'll use an ANOVA test, right? Then of course you have the correlation test, right? So correlation tests are mainly used for comparing two numerical sets of variable, right? So this is the key point. For example, let's say, is there a relationship between the TSH value and the LDL value? So I take my 1000 patients, I see the TSH values, I see the LDL values at baseline, and I do a correlation, right? So we know, there is some idea that that there is a correlation between TSH and LDL, but is this correlation significant, right? So again, this is the data set I look at, and this is where I use Pearson's correlation for that. Just one hint to all of you listening. All of these tests are easily available online. You really don't need any specific software. Of course, you can use SPSS and a lot of SAS and a lot of these fancy tools. You can use your Excel sheet also, to be very simple. But of course, you can use, you can just Google it. You can say Pearson's correlation calculator and something like that, and you will get very good free software, free web-based websites which can help you with the calculation. It's very simple. This is what I use. I don't use any complicated software. Perhaps Karthik uses, he talks about a lot of these software, but I don't. I use simple logic, and that works for me in a lot of these times, right? Okay, then looking at non-parametric equivalents of these tests. So I'll not go into the details of the non-parametric test, but I'll just list them out. And like I said, you can take a screenshot of this. So if the non-parametric equivalent of a paired t-test is what is known as a Wilcoxon's rank sum test. Unpaired t-test, you use a Mann-Whitney U-test. Again, when you read an article, when you read a paper, you will see within the methodology section, these tests will be written. And when somebody has used a Mann-Whitney U-test, you know that the data is not normally distributed. Instead of Pearson's, you will have to use a Spearman's correlation, and instead of ANOVA, you will use a Kruskal-Wallis test, so KWT, right? So that is the test you would use as a non-parametric equivalent. So to basically summarize, if you are comparing two categorical variables, the example like I gave you would be what is the difference between the TSH value in men and women who are NT-TPO positive versus NT-TPO negative. So you have this 4x4 square, 4x4 kind of situation, right? So you have TPO positive, TPO negative, right? And you have the men and you have women, right? So this is how you can compare these things, right? Then you have one categorical variable and one numerical variable, right? That is where you use a t-test. If it's before and after kind of situation, you use a paired t-test, otherwise you use an unpaired t-test. When you have more than 2 data sets, you will use a ANOVA test, which is similar to t-test, but you'll have more than that. And when you are correlating, let's say you are correlating between the height and weight of children who have Prader-Willi syndrome, right? And if you want to do that correlation, that is where you use a Pearson's coefficient. So these are all various statistical tests you'll use for analytics. So just to summarize some important take-home message, the first step, of course, is to collect the data. And like I told you, be smart. When you're collecting the data, collect it in a form which is usable to you in future, right? So don't double your work, right? Make it simple for yourself and try collecting the data in a form which is usable to you. You need to understand that, a lot of the time if you're using EMR software, you need to know who owns the data. You need to ask this question, right? Or perhaps, if you're lucky working in an academic institution, you can have a research assistant who can help you with the process. Pool your data, right? Depending on the disease or whatever, situation you want to pull your data in. Then ask the research question. Don't start a research, don't go for fishing. Please, no fishing at all. What you need to do is you need to ask a research question, and only then you will get a good answer to that. Understand the variables. There are two types of variables as we discussed, categorical and numerical variable. Understand the data distribution, whether it's normal or is it skewed. Define the null hypothesis and alpha, and know which statistical test would you be using for comparing the data set. Is it chi-square, t-test, or ANOVA, or Pearson's correlation coefficient? And most importantly, and I think we end with this, we do all this, but we don't get time to publish, right? So in the West they say publish or perish. Thankfully in India you don't perish if you don't publish, but I think it is a high time. We have so much beautiful data. We have so much to offer to the world in terms of research, right? We have so much to offer, and I think we are just lacking the initiation of publication. And nowadays we see such beautiful articles being published in IJEM by our own postgraduate students and so on. But I think we need to keep doing this. We need to keep making a mark at an international stage. Thank you, and stay safe. And these are the places where you can find me on WhatsApp, email, and Twitter.